We're here with Julie today, and Julie does a lot of things. What's your official title, Julie?
I think we discovered it's VP of Operations.
VP of Operations. And largely that is mostly stuff that nobody sees or knows about, right?
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that. You do a little bit of HR, work with the team, payroll things. Tell me about some of those things.
Anything from banking and credit cards to processing payroll and vacation time for the guys.
One of the teams that you oversee has to do with permits and working with building departments.
Yep.
How's that changed in the last couple of years?
Things have gotten better and worse all at the same time. A lot of building departments have gotten more technologically advanced, so we don't have to go in and we can do a lot more things online. But COVID, with the downtime, had them lose a lot of employees and also relook at a lot of codes, which has now become harder on us in the swimming pool industry because they are coming down a lot harder on the codes they require.
Now, for years, we've talked about how the pool industry doesn't really have specific codes as it relates to the installation of the pool.
Correct.
What kinds of codes have changed, and are they meaningful, or do you find that they're often just red tape?
I think a lot of them are red tape. I think it just depends. There is swimming pool code that very few building departments in our area actually adhere to. Grove City is one of them, and they stick to the letter of the law or the letter of the code very stringently. Whereas other building departments pick and choose what they want to enforce and what they don't.
Sure. One of the code changes and inspections that I've seen recently has been the inspection of the hole and excavation. Are many of these codes, which I don't feel is in the homeowner's best interest. The hole is either there or it's not there. The sites that I've been on, the inspector isn't even really sure what he's inspecting. He's just following orders and doing the inspection. Yes, the hole is there. It seems pretty silly. Now, the electric code, that has always made sense, and National Electric Code dictates what that is. But what are some of the new inspections and codes that are out there that you're seeing?
Some pressure testing of certain of plumbing has become a big thing. We have some communities that are looking at the grading to make sure it is up to whatever they think it should be, because there doesn't seem to be code. I think a lot of times what happens is building departments that also do their own zoning intermingle the two, which then becomes, it's not really a building code they're failing us on, but more of a zoning issue, even though they don't say that.
Sure. Right. Well, we've always pressure tested our work. That's been in, frankly, our best interest, as well as the homeowner's best interest. I'm not sure that most municipalities have even adopted that as a code, but it is a good inspection. I can only think of Grove City off the top of my head that does require a pressure test. We actually do two. We do one on the shell, and then we do the full system. Any other inspections or codes that have kind of popped out?
No, I mean, there's always been the fight between building department and zoning departments on the fencing issue. I think fencing is one of the biggest variables anywhere we go. You know, some places require 4 foot, some places require 4.5 foot, some places require a 5 foot, some places have very specifics as to what they're looking within that fence, and you know, it has to meet a certain code. Others don't. Others allow the auto cover instead of fencing, and that is primarily a zoning issue. Many building departments have gotten away from the auto cover or the fencing if they have an auto cover, but zoning still reigns supreme.
So if I understand what you're saying, the building department will accept an auto cover as a barrier, as a means of protecting the pool.
Correct.
Even if their corresponding zoning department does not accept it.
Right, but they enforce whatever the zoning department requires.
Does the zoning department, say in Delaware County, right? We've got a half a dozen different little departments within Delaware County. Do they ever offer an explanation as to why a fence requirement for them may be 4 feet or 4'6" or 5 feet?
No,
It's just what they decided.
it's just what they decide.
Have you seen building departments or zoning departments that did accept an auto cover kind of walk that back and no longer accept an auto cover?
Once, but that's even changed again, and that was Franklin County. They, for about a 2-month period, several years ago, decided that auto covers were okay, and then without telling anybody, reversed that decision. But they are now back within the last year, I believe. They are back to, as long as zoning is okay with it, they will accept an auto cover in lieu of a fence.
The truth is, an auto cover is significantly more secure of a pool,
Right?
much safer.
Yes.
And we'll talk about that in a different conversation. But how have the inspections changed in the last few years? We used to have very good relationships, and you could have relationships with the inspectors. Things changed through COVID. What are we dealing with now? What does it look like now?
A lot of building departments lost a lot of inspectors, which means they've either the ones they do have are overloaded, and they're just probably not as happy in their own job, which obviously resonates to everybody else. Some places are still doing virtual, which is not a good idea, especially with electric, which is what we're finding. And then you've got new inspectors that really have no idea what they're looking at and have to be we'll get failed on something only to know that what they failed us on should not be failed, and we have to come back and go back to the building department.
I have noticed with the with the thinner inspection departments, the chief building officials and the department heads that know us, that have inspected us, I have seen them be willing to have a conversation, almost let us be their eyes and ears on site, which I appreciate that trust. I don't think that can be a long-term way of doing business.
Right.
But in some ways that has been helpful, and they have been willing to play ball. From a consumer perspective, from a homeowner who is wanting to plan a pool, what kinds of things should they do to prepare and plan for their pool project? What kinds of things would you encourage a family to think about before digging into a pool?
Checking in to see if they have homeowners association rules and regulations. Unfortunately, some zoning departments have all of their zoning codes superseded even by homeowners associations. And then your local zoning department knowing where they will allow you to put things. Everybody is different. There are even certain townships that their setback requirements as far as how close things can be to lot lines are based on neighborhood, not even their entire township. And so just checking in with them to see where you can and can't put a pool, a fence, things of that nature.
And even what kind of fence that would be.
Right.
It's always a heartbreaker when we meet with a family here and we're doing a design and they've invested this huge amount of money into a fence that covers their entire backyard,
Right.
only to find out that this other fence company didn't follow pool code, knowing that they were getting a pool.
Right.
Can that be salvaged? Can that sort of a fence be, are there variance options? Are there modification options? Is that really a thing?
That again all depends on what municipality you're dealing with. There can be when it comes to height. Most places will not come off of the height even with a variance. They have those heights in there for whatever their reasons are. When it comes to potentially the pickets are too wide, the spacing is too wide. Depending again on the municipality you're in, yeah, things can be done to, you know, put chicken wire on the outside to allow it to become code.
Not aesthetically ideal.
No.
Maybe fixes a problem, at least for the immediate.
Correct.
And there's so many different, you know, particularly Delaware County, being diverse. We've got Berlin, Orange, Liberty, right?
Mm-hmm.
They all have these different ideas and these different, you know, zoning code requirements. Right. And Delaware County has just kind of taken a step backwards and tried to not be a part of it.
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Delaware has their own building, and building is building. Whereas the townships within Delaware County, they each have their own specific codes. Some are very easy and very nice and say we will follow with whatever Delaware County requires, we are good with. Others have very specific requirements.
So outside of zoning, and maybe this is a conversation for, you know, maybe Hogan, how has the electrical inspection process been affected? We're seeing a lot of new homes being built. We're putting pools in for new homes. Very often the house barely squeaks in with the electric service that's there. Has the building department been okay with adding pools, and how do they load calcs? What do they ask for when we're going through that?
We've always, Union County has always required load calcs, and the City of Dublin is now requiring them. Those are the only two that I'm aware of. Everyone else is not asked. They don't seem to really, load calculation wise, does not seem to come up on their radar.
Speaking of Dublin's, we have a little bit of a change with the auto cover code. For years, that's been acceptable, particularly in Muirfield, right?
Only in Muirfield.
On the golf course, the cover works.
Correct.
I'm hearing whispers, but that may be rethought.
Not whispers, it definitely has been rethought.
What's that look like now for Muirfield Village?
For Muirfield Village, they're required to have a fence. Even if Muirfield is okay, the homeowners association, which they did reign supreme for a while, even if they are okay with the auto cover, City of Dublin is not at all.
So we're really talking about fences
On the golf course.
on the golf course.
Yes.
And the golf club has backed away and stepped off this argument?
That I'm not sure about.
Well, so stay tuned, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, thanks for talking to us today. I appreciate all the insight, and we'll see you again soon.
Okay.